Rabbinism rewrites the Torah Bible. Missing the Mashiach at Genesis 1:1 Aleph, it surmises the Messiah. So far, ample proof has been provided to back up our claim that the takeaway of the Torah is paradise, as found in Genesis 1:1 Aleph. Furthermore, that the sages, being at a loss of making sense of the brokenness of our world, even after the revelation of the blueprints for the social edifice to Moses at Mount Sinai, surmised the missing piece hypothesis in the Torah. Having made the takeaway, they figure it would evidently be brought back to us at a later time by a Messiah, Savior. As things stand at the moment, it's a takeaway versus the Messianism, or alternatively, paradise versus dualism, or primeval Torah versus post-evil forecasting, and so on. But this sounds like comparing apples with pears, making it difficult to understand things. So herein, we'll make the connection of the paradise takeaway of primeval Genesis 1:1 Aleph with the Mashiach, anointed of the Torah, as distinct from the Messiah Savior of the Nevi'im prophets of the Second Temple period of Rabbinism, which by then, Rabbinism was heavily under the Hellenic influence of dualism. The issue Rabbinism is having is fitting onto its cookie-cutter mentality the vastness of the Torah, instead of simply translating the text as is and letting people interpret it on their own. The Messiah Savior narrative of the Second Temple period is a revisionist hermeneutics of the Mashiach anointed of the Torah Bible. If such an assuming role as agent between the Torah teaching and Adam isn't idolatry by another name, then I don't know what is. So then, let's allow the text to speak for itself. With this express goal in mind, let's start by inquiring what our Creator, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh GD, expects of us. This topic is addressed in Deuteronomy 10, verses 12 to 13. This, Deuteronomy 10, verses 12 to 13, has a triad of parts as refers to us. Quote, fear of GD as cause D. Quote, good as effect P for us coming out of it. And, quote, path as the R connecting them, all encompassed in one whole of ask, as refers to the wish S of the Creator. The elements of the auxiliary triad, quote, path, are clearly enumerated, singled out by the et dialogue with you, namely, to love, dr, to serve, rr, and to keep, pr, his commandments. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Can we make one whole cake out of the triad of ingredients? That's the thesis of the graduation project in the lab. Either we figure out the puzzle or else are to remain puzzled for life. The Creator could do everything, but he, quote, asks to instill in us, quote, the fear of him. Also, as Creator, the test of the creatures of creation is, quote, creativity. Being, quote, creative. By finding the, quote, takeaway for our own, quote, good, let's provide an example with the use of mathematics. He gives us 613 commandments as Creator. It's on us to figure the one commandment on our own as a, quote, takeaway. This is expressed in no uncertain terms in math as 613 equals 6 plus 1 plus 3 equals 10, which in turn equals 1 plus 0 equals 1. The challenge to us is clear as daylight. We are given 613 commandments and are expected to figure out the one commandment of the takeaway. An observation in passing as to why my fan base is so skinny. For success, go either light on the tube or else heavy on print. Light on paper still flies, but not heavy on tube, which happens to be my case. To cut to the chase, what makes Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh be Eloheinu, our God, our GD, is precisely being the creator of the universe, of creation in general, and specifically of the creatures of humanity. So, in that same vein of thought, what makes us what we are? What are we anyway? To this topic we now turn our attention. It says in the creation story in Genesis 1, 26 to 27, paraphrasing GD, he said, quote, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness, And then Moses added, quote, GD created dialogue with the atom in the image of GD created dialogue with it, and so on. So whatever it is that we are, we take after him. That is, we're keychain versions of the creator. This is a no-brainer. If he's the, quote, creator, that would make us, quote, creative creatures of creation, plain and simple. If he's the creator of the universe ex nihilo, quote, out of nothing, then if we're to take after him, we would have to somehow pass a test by creating, quote, out of something. That is, more properly speaking, out of the given triad of parts PRD out there of mass, space, time, recreating, understood as making up the one whole S. Let's provide an illustrative example out of the pages of the Annals of Science. In all this, please bear in mind that science comes from sapiens, wisdom, and that we're living in an age driven by knowledge. Knowledge in turn mirrors language, the ability to go back and forth from the in and out of things. That is, language is as the back and forth bridge from the, quote, in of wisdom D to the, quote, out of understanding P by way of this second story, quote, needle of knowledge R. So then, much like Newton's law of universal gravitation, F equals ma, or force equals mass times acceleration, equals mv over t, he came up with the concept of one whole secret S of force, S tying together the separate triad part elements, PRD, namely of mass P, space R, time D. My intermediate works are full of such examples from biology, chemistry, physics, and other core subjects taught in high school. But in a more generalizable manner, let's take a closer look at the Big Bang for comparison. What cosmology observed was that all celestial bodies are accelerating away from each other at ever-increasing speeds. The question asked was, what if we could turn back the clock? Where would they all point to? The astronomers found out, but not after serious tricks, that our objects seem to converge at a point beginning some 13 billion years ago. Suddenly, there must have been something akin, literally and figuratively, to a Big Bang of cosmological proportions, needless to say. The takeaway is that the behavior of the celestial bodies is just an unfoldment of this one principle over mass, space, time. Of course, they're still trying to figure out some missing gray and dark energy and matter, codenamed for lack of understanding. So it's not all said and done as yet. But the point we're making is that getting the principle with capital P right, the rest follows by added measure. The previous examples and numerous more left pending for lack of time all beg the capital question. What is the principle of all these principles, the absolute of all these relatives? The crucial proof of our creativity in order to pass the test of being worthy of our Creator is to figure out not one, not many, but the ultimate absolute principle behind all creation. In our lexicon, the principle of principles in creation is the, quote, takeaway of the creation story as found in Genesis 1:1 to 2:3, and some add the auxiliary Genesis 2:4 to 25. This we encode with the mnemonic and acronym PARADISE. If we know the takeaway of gravity, of biology, and so on, the pending question is, what then is the takeaway of all creation? This has to be so because the Creator isn't the creator of just this and not of that, but is the creator of everything there is. Likewise, we have to come up with being creative of everything there is in creation. No exception allowed. Nothing short of everything will do. The philosophers called it the first principle or beginning of things. Not unexpectedly, at one point they got lost and inquired if they were coming from or going to the first principles. Either we do it, otherwise we didn't get it. We failed the creativity test. F for flunk. We need to come up with paradise to demonstrate that we are, quote, creative creatures, or else chaos, end of the great human experiment of creation. Passing this stress test, we earn being the Mashiach, anointed ones of Mashianic times. Thus, dispel the intentional misreading of rabbinism of the Messiah Savior, of Messianism of a future alien coming. I'm not saying that there won't be any visual coming of the Creator at the annihilation of time, just that that's not included in what was revealed to us in the Torah teaching of the blueprints for the social edifice of civilization. Even though we just saw it in the previous episode, it likewise comes in handy in this step of the train of thought. In the name of the obvious inane, many things get pushed under the carpet. Creativity is precisely proving a claim false and showing evidence to the contrary. The devil is in the details, as we clearly saw in Deuteronomy 30, verse 11. Therein, literally, it says, mimecha, from you, and not lecha, for you. My literal translation has, it is not a wonder, it's from you, unquote. The key words are hi mimecha, it's from you, meaning that it's found in the Torah itself, if you care to look for it, and it's not in heaven. For starts, the rabbinic argument goes that it couldn't possibly be, quote, bringing as mimecha, from you, because that would imply having missed some takeaway, which could then be brought by us. So it had to be, quote, coming, lecha, for you, coming from the future by the Messiah. The argument of the sages would be sound, were it not for their having failed to unveil the takeaway, for having missed it. The connection we wish to establish is the contrast between, on the one hand, quote, from you, and, quote, to you, and on the other hand, quote, bringing, and, quote, coming, respectively. If it's from you, you bring it from the past, as per Genesis 1:1a Aleph. Whereas if it's, quote, coming, quote, to you, it is brought from the future by some alien creature. Literally, lechavi, to bring, and mevi, bringing, a Mashiachism over lavo, to come, and bia, coming, of Messianism. And grammatically, hifiel, active causative, and paal, active simple, respectively. In a way, I'm no better off than Plato and Aristotle, all proportions kept, obviously. But what I do gather is that this is definitely a good place to end the discourse, where the ends meet. I started inquiring about this takeaway and am now nailing it down, relatively speaking. Well, that's all, people. Yours truly, Rick, your Anusi Charro, Mr. T, GD Bless, Austin, Texas, capital of the world.